And now, the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars Flying Boxcast with your hosts, Johnny Castle and Finn McDonald.
That's right. I hear my name, Johnny Castle. Everybody around here knows me as Johnny Castle, a.k.a. Tom Burtman, and I'm here with...
I'm Finn McDonald. I'm our Director of Marketing with the Flying Boxcars.
Director of Marketing.
Yep.
You do a lot for us. You know that, by the way.
Seriously, a lot of hats.
I don't think I tell you enough how much you really do us. Finn's going to talk a little bit more about what he does. My role with the Flying Boxcars, I am the Director of Promotions, Director of Merchandise. I got 2 titles. Used to many more, but 2 titles is plenty with a brand new startup team. Under the Director of Promotions title, I'll handle most of what happens on game day, leading up to it and during game day. From everything from the promotional giveaways to everything that happens on the video board. Excited about it. Excited to tell you more about those types of things. And we're going to do that throughout the course of, well, who knows? Who knows how long this podcast is going to go? We know how long this first episode is going to go, especially really long if I keep talking, right, Finn?
Yep.
The other role I have is Director of Merchandise, which you'll see for those of you that are actually watching this. We have brought some hats here. I'm wearing one of our on-field caps. The other 3 caps we have, they'll be the ones the players wear. They're a flat fit variety, several different sizes. But we have these on sale now. You go to flyingboxcarsmerch.com or go to our website at flyingboxcars.com, and you can see those hats and many more pieces of merchandise, and there will be many, many more to come. And again, you know, not to take too long with this, but we'll talk more about that role a little later on. Finn, please explain what you do with us.
Yeah, so I do all of our marketing, our social media, basically all the content that you guys have been seeing out there. I've been coming up with those, the comm stuff as well, basically just trying to get out into the community too and tell people stories, tell the story of the team as we go along. And it's been really, really rewarding since we've been here. You know, being able to tell the story of a team coming from the ground up and going to the office every day and seeing that stadium being built, that is one heck of a job. It's
come a long way, and even since I've been hired, I got hired in June. There wasn't much going on at that property. It had been cleared and some steel into the ground, not quite yet. But from that point to now, and I think if I had to guess, I'd say we're at about 65% on that stadium. But you've seen it go up, man, and we get to see it every day.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I just started, that thing was a parking lot.
It was a parking lot. It was a parking lot. And, you know, now we come to work and we get excited when we see things start going up. It's kind of cool. Yeah. Speaking about the team, the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars, brand new team. We know there have been many other minor league teams in this area. The last team, the Hagerstown Suns, was here for 40 years. And due to Major League Baseball getting rid of a bunch of teams, the Hagerstown Suns were one, the Frederick Keys were another team, 38 other teams. There were 40 teams that they got rid of simply because that they felt that they could do it with less teams. And the teams that they had gotten rid of, those 40, their stadiums, their facilities weren't up to the standards that Major League Baseball was looking for. And so here we are 3 or 4 years later. We have some folks who lobbied the Maryland State Assembly, the governor, for funds, and thankfully to the Maryland Stadium Authority, they said, "Hey, okay, let's do a stadium." We didn't have a team.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
I was also a part of Frederick growing up around that area, working for the Keys as well for a little bit. So growing up, I always went to those games here when all those other teams were here. So now being able to be a part of bringing that back, that's pretty cool too.
It certainly is cool. You know, I mean, I spent a lot of years with the Suns, and it was fun. I met a lot of people. Gosh, it was the people that I met and the fans. And when that was over, I was pretty much done with baseball. And then this thing came along, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. And you know, now that I've been back in baseball, I see all those fans, and they're super excited. You know, not just your everyday fan that would come to 1 or 2 games. Those fans that used to come to all the games, the sponsors, everybody. They're so excited to have baseball back here in the Hub City. So We got fortunate. With great ownership. Got tied in with the Atlantic League. We can talk. We can do a whole segment about the Atlantic League and what it actually is. Finn, why don't you explain to the folks exactly what the Atlantic League is?
Yeah, so the Atlantic League, we're very fortunate to start out in a league that's at that level. Definitely is going to be the highest level that Hagerstown has seen when it comes to baseball.
Yeah, I mean, that league's been around for a while, too.
Yeah. It's been around for, I think we just celebrated their 25th anniversary.
25 years, yep.
Yep. And you can put it right up there with AAA. We're going to have the majority of our players with major league experience, which is a pretty cool thing to be able to say in Hagerstown.
Super cool. We're used in this town, you're used to seeing guys 17, 18, 19 years old come through, and you don't know if they're going to make it or not, and some of them you see and you're like, oh, this guy's going to make it, and 2 years later you don't know where he is, and then you see guys come through like, oh, this guy ain't got a chance, and then all of a sudden he's in the major league. So these guys have been there. They've been in the show.
Yep. And, we've had a pretty good number of players that have come through Hagerstown in the past.
We have
been successful, but these are the guys who've already been there.
They know what's going on.
They're coming back, and they're going to be working their hearts out to try and get back to
the level of baseball. The level of baseball is here, and the last team was here. The Suns, low single A, So again, just kids out of high school, kids out of college, just kids starting out who are really good athletes. These guys are the top, So that's super exciting. What about the other teams in the league? How many other teams are we looking at?
Yeah, so we're actually pretty close to a couple of teams. So we've got Lancaster and York, Pennsylvania, right down the road, sharing the state with Southern Maryland as well. So if you're looking into those season tickets, you've got quite a few games that you can make the road trip to as well. So pretty excited for that. But outside of that, it also our league extends all the way up to New York. We got Long Island, Staten Island, and we go down all the way down to Kentucky and North Carolina. So.
Yeah. The cool thing, fans around here remember the South Atlantic League, which was the team that the Hagerstown Suns were a part of. There are a number of teams that are in the Atlantic League who also lost their affiliations with Major League Baseball and are back here. West Virginia was the Charleston team. They're now known as the
Dirty Birds.
Dirty Birds, yes, the Dirty Birds. They were the what were they before? I can't remember what they were before. It'll come to me. Remember. It will come to me. Lexington Legends are now the Lexington Counterclocks. You have, Long Island, New York, Staten Island, not in the South Atlantic League, but it's nice to see Southern Maryland as well. Southern Maryland right down the road. So we have our fans can visit. They can go to York. They can go to Lancaster. They can go to Southern Maryland.
Yeah.
They can go to all those places. And then they can plan their trips around places like Lexington, Kentucky, and Gastonia, North Carolina, and, Long Island, New York, Staten Island. There you go. You go up to the Big Apple, you can go see the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars play. So that's super cool. We have a ton of stuff we want to cover, and that's why we're not going to try to do it in this podcast. We're just going to try to get everyone to understand that, we're here. We're kind of like that single A team, but we're going to work our way up to that level we want to be and let you have all the information that we have. So we've talked about the Independent League, the Atlantic League. Well, we talked about the Atlantic League, but we really haven't. When we say these players, when we say Independent League, and people around here are used to affiliated teams. What does that really mean? How do we tell people that?
Yeah. So. Being in the Atlantic League, the players that are playing in our league are actually fortunate enough to be able to be really affiliated with all the teams in the MLB. So you're not tied into one farm system going up. You really get to be in a player pool that any team can pick from, and you're really playing at a AAA level. So the teams, they're watching. And as for the players, I actually had a conversation with our manager, Mark Mason, and he told me that this is the league that you want to be in. Everyone, basically, that's not playing affiliated ball, this is where they want to be because this is your best shot.
Yeah, I mean, there's several other independent leagues around the country, Frontier League, things of that nature, but this is the top of this is the top shelf. This is guys that, you know, they're close to the game. You know, they'll probably go to spring training. They won't make an opening day roster. So guess what? What do they got to do? Okay, so they could go back to that same team, maybe on a minor league deal, and then they'll sit on that roster behind the hot shot third baseman and not get that shot that they need to get back to the bigs because they want to push that hot shot third baseman. So, you know, they say, okay, we'll play for one of these Atlantic League teams, and then all 30 teams in Major League Baseball can take a look at that player and all of our players. And, you know, there's some kind of, you know, we'll have all that information later, I promise you, everybody. But, you know, they kind of, they're under contract with our team. Am I correct in saying that they're under contract for us? And if a Major League team sees them, then they can come down here and say, okay, we want to sign this player, exchange some money, and there you go. They're out of their contract and they're off to the big league somewhere. So that's how it works. It's happened quite a bit. I think I read somewhere where like 1,200 players over these past 20, 25 years have actually left the Atlantic League to get back to the big. So it's going to happen with us, and fans around here are used to seeing that. They're used to seeing a roster at the start of the season, and you know, by the end of the season, it's different. It's got different players on it. Players have left. Players have been released. Players have moved higher, you know, whatever. But we won't see the same team start with the same roster start at the beginning of the season. Won't be the same roster at the end, correct? I mean, that's just what we know that. That's what people
and I mean, that's also a good thing if you look at it, because that means that we're successful and we're letting those guys make their way back and get up there. So.
So when you get attached to that first baseman that plays for us, and he's hitting 20 home runs, and then all of a sudden he gets caught up to the big leagues, you know, feel happy for him. That's what he's here for. That's how we felt before when we were affiliated. You want to see those players move through the system, so be happy for them, and don't be sad. I mean, the bottom line is it did some great things for the team. So I'm looking here. Some of the other things, you know, we don't have a roster yet. Obviously, the Ghost Hounds, the Spire City Ghost Hounds, which is the Frederick team in the Atlantic League, excuse me, is not playing this year, because if they were, then we'd have an uneven number of teams. There needs to be an even number of teams. So the plan is to have Frederick back next year. And along with another team, so there'll be 14 teams next year. So you fans of the Ghost Hounds, don't worry. You weren't eliminated. You know, it didn't not work. It's worked. There's a plan in place. They'll be back, and we'll be able to have that Frederick rivalry. We did, but the players they had on their team last year had to be dispersed and there was a draft, and we actually got 2 of those players, correct?
Yeah, we did. We got 2 really good guys. One of them has, I believe he hit over 20 home runs last season with Frederick, and then we also grabbed a pitcher who actually has some major league experience.
We had the first pick, ladies and gentlemen. We had the first pick, and so we took their best player, and so expect to see him with the team. And it's just going to be it's going to be a matter of time before our manager puts together a team. A lot of players, again, will come from spring training, so spring training doesn't begin here until another couple of weeks. That usually runs through mid-March, the end of March, and then we'll start seeing our roster form a little bit more. Spring training for us will begin around, what did we say?
I think it's around March. We know we're under 100 days away already.
Right.
So.
April, actually, mid-April.
Okay.
Mid-April is when it's going to start. Mid-April, our spring training will start, and hopefully our field will be ready. If not, we have an alternate location available for that team, yet to be disclosed. But that information will be out there in plenty of time for people to be able to go to those spring training games and see the players in action before they actually hit the field here in Hagerstown. But yeah, I mean, like Flynn was saying, it's really super cool that all 30 teams now can look at these players. So they're free agents. They're guys that still want to play. They're not getting paid the big major league dollars, but they want to get back to that place. They want to get back to the place where they were for the most part, most of them. So this is their perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
So again, we can go on and we can talk about this, talk about that. And I'm sure we're going to have segments down the road where we'll take 15 minutes and we'll talk about some of these subjects and things of that nature. And and we'll take viewer questions or people listening, their questions. They can write into Finn, and we can answer those questions. The really objective here is for us to reach out to the community, reach out to folks, and say, hey, we're real. This is real. We actually work for the team. We're the administrative part of the team. Our role, we know pretty much all the answers, and if not, we can get those answers. But the big thing is that we want to make sure that the public is aware of what's going on. There's a lot of miscommunication out there. Yeah. There's a lot of questions on social media that just blow me away sometimes. So we'll have a section in our podcast, and we'll talk about some of those things. And, we're not going to call anybody out by name. I would not do that. I don't want to embarrass anybody. I don't want to. I'm just not that kind of person. Finn's not that kind of person. We're not that kind of organization. But what we do want to do is we want to make sure that you are aware that a lot of that miscommunication out there is wrong, and we're the guys that can answer that thing. So let's do that now. Let's answer some questions now. I know we made a list of the things we've seen on social media, and trust me, we just roll our eyes because we really don't want to get into a back and forth and he said, she said, whatever situation. We know the answers. We're here. We have those answers. And if we don't know those answers, then no one's supposed to know those answers, to be quite honest with you. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah.
We listen to stuff all the time in the office, Our offices are right beside the construction teams, head folks, the people putting this all together, the Maryland Stadium Authority. So we hear everything, and we know what's going on, and we see these things on social media, and we just look at each other because Finn and I share the office. We're kind of like in eye contact of each other when I have my door open. I'm sorry about that, Sometimes I just like to close my door and take a nap, Or I'm just, or watch television. I need a break every once in a while. I've been working a lot, so put on the cartoons, whatever. No, Jay, make sure you cut that out. I'm just kidding, Jay. You don't need to cut that part out. But I do work all the time. I'm not in there taking a break, but every time, once in a while, I do shut my office door and kind of close the world out so I can focus a little bit more. But when my office door is open, I have a direct site with Finn, and we are talking all the time. We see something, and it's funny. So Finn and I sat down. We looked at some questions we wanted to kind of tackle, I guess. We again, we're not trying to call anybody out. So if this was what you were thinking, and we give you the straight answer, please don't take that offensively. Just now you have the answer. Here it is. And by the way, before we begin, or before we get to that point, we're videotaping this as well, and so it's really weird because it's typically a podcast. You just hear bunch of people talking, but we wanted you to see us, even though the camera does put an extra 10 to 15 pounds on me. We wanted you to see us, that we're real people, and you can see us out on the street, and you can call us, and you can talk to us. Anybody that knows me from the past and knows my relationship with the city and the people, know me as Johnny Castle, and that's great. And you can keep calling me Johnny Castle, and there'll be Johnny Castle moments throughout this season and for years to come. But I've always been open with folks. I've always told people the truth. There's no BSing going on in this podcast. It's all, we're just laying it out there for you. So take it and go ahead. Let's get to these. I'm kind of excited about these, but I'm also, we don't want to be on here all the time running my mouth. So I'll be very careful with these. So let's have some fun with it. Go for it.
Yeah, and please by no means take this to heart. Yeah. We see a lot of funny things out there on social. I get to run our Facebook account, and I'm sure you guys have seen some of the comments on there. So
start away, man. Fire away. This ought to be fun.
All right, so our first one, and we get this one all the time. I remember we actually had our parade, the Mummers Parade, and people were screaming this one from the side of the road.
Yeah.
So
I didn't make that parade. Thankfully, I didn't. And maybe I probably would have. Maybe it would have been even worse. They're like, oh, that guy was with them. Oh, go ahead. Ask. What was the question?
So the question is, are we the Hagerstown Suns?
The answer simply is no. We're not. This is a totally new team. This has nothing to do with that team. I'm very thankful and very, very appreciative of the opportunity that was given to me by ownership, by our consultant group, and especially our general manager, to be a part of this team. And, I was a part of that other team. But this is totally different. This has nothing to do with that. It's new ownership. It's the leadership is unquestionably 1,000 times better. It's not even, like I said, it's not affiliated with any major league team. The only similarity with this team and the previous, not just the Suns, but all of the previous, is it's baseball.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's something that people can come out and families can enjoy. It's entertainment. We want to win. The team wants to win. Players want to win. They want to do great. But it's our role is for entertainment. The players play the game. We, the employees of the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars, we are there to entertain you, the fans. And so that's the similarity. But that's the similarity with every minor league baseball team in America that's ever been. It's entertainment. And that's other than that, it really isn't the same. There's nothing, and what people were chanting. What were they chanting? They wanted. There were people upset that we weren't called the Suns. Well, this is a new team. This is not the same team. And with any rebranding, if it would have been the same team, they would have rebranded a new name with a new stadium. It's a new identity. I think that's the word. It's an identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, by no means are we, forgetting the Hagerstown Suns or anything like that. I mean, we have obviously like over 100 years of great baseball history here.
But they were here for 40 years.
Of course.
But we're seeing it with people we talk to, whether it be sponsors or season ticket holders or just people calling up inquiring. The fans. But you weren't attracted to that team or the Packets or the Owls or any of the other teams that played over the past 100 years here in Hagerstown because of the name. You were attracted to the team because of the entertainment value of it, the baseball. If you were a baseball nut, bam, baseball. If you were just a fan of entertainment and taking the family out, bam. So it. Yeah, it's.
I mean, that's what's beautiful about minor league baseball is it's your hometown.
It really is,
and it's not just Hagerstown. It's all those little towns around us. You got Pennsylvania and West Virginia as well.
There's nothing like it. I love it. I mean, I'm not going to tell you how old I am. Hopefully, the cameras don't give it away. But the truth of the matter is it keeps people young. I mean, I wish I was as young as Finn when I first got into this business because I just feel like I missed out on so much. I didn't know. I didn't realize. But now that I'm a part of minor league baseball and a part of just baseball in general, and for me, the excitement comes not from the baseball anymore because in my position, it's hard for me to really watch a game because I have so many things going on around the stadium. So my enjoyment comes from the fans. And trust me, if you're a fan of any of the other teams that played here in Hagerstown through the years, you're still alive, especially with some of them early teams. You'd probably be 115 by now. But with that said, I'm just doing the math in my head, which I'm not very good at math, to be honest with you. But I'm thinking, you're going to enjoy the heck out of this. I guess that's what my point is. So, no, we are not the Suns. Let me ask the next question because this is fun. I'll ask you, Finn. Let me see what it is here. Finn, the name, where did we come up with this name, the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars? It's silly. The name, Finn, where did we come up with this name? The name, wait a minute, let me go a little bit. The name, are you serious? The Hagerstown Flying Boxcars? It's the worst name ever. It's terrible. What are some of the other things I read? That's the strangest name, makes no sense. And again, I don't mean to make fun of people. Everybody can have their opinion and be opinionated, but I think it's because of, the reason that when you hear Finn's answer where we came with the name, I think it'll make sense. Go ahead, Finn.
Yeah. So the first part of it is actually the people. You guys are the ones that came up with the name. We had a vote. We had a contest.
What? Finn, you didn't come up with that name?
No, I didn't.
I've been blaming you
did.
for this whole long. No, I'm just teasing.
But yeah, so we had a contest. People could write in some names. Narrowed it down to 5, and then we put out a vote again. The name that came out on top was the Flying Boxcars.
What were the other names, Finn?
Ooh,
do you remember?
Yeah,
we had Battle Swans.
Battle Swans. There's the Tin Lizards.
Haymakers.
Yep.
Diesel Dogs.
Diesel Dogs.
Yeah.
That's right, Diesel Dogs. They all had reference to Hagerstown.
Yeah, and I mean, when they picked the Flying Boxcars, originally myself, I was from Frederick, so I actually had no idea what they were talking about, but it only took like a 5-minute conversation for me to see that the name was actually really cool. So
I'm not from Hagerstown, but I kind of am from Hagerstown, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
What? There's going to be a train with wings? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I actually saw this knockoff Twitter account that someone made right when the name came out, and it was a cardboard box with some wings on it, and I was pretty worried that was actually going to be what our logo was going to be. So,
yeah.
But yeah, the reason that this name became attached to our team is really because of the history of the Fairchild plant. And from my time being here so far, it feels like everybody everybody that you meet has some connection to that plant, and being able to honor that is something that's very valuable. And at that plant, they built the flying boxcar, the C119, on this hat, or this hat right here. You can't really see it on the camera. But yeah, that plane was...
For those of you not watching, the hat that Finn was pointing to has the flying boxcar plane on the hat.
Yeah.
As do one of our others, but there's a mascot sitting on that, which we'll get to later.
Yeah.
I interrupted your train of thought there.
Yeah, so basically that plane was built here, and it was a big part of history, really.
Huge part
towards the end of World War II, I think it was. And
Finn, just to add to that, it was the predecessor of the Packet, which, again, the Packet was a name of a minor league team here in Hagerstown many years ago.
Yeah.
The Packets.
There's
a precedent for it.
It is, and it's really meaningful. I actually had the opportunity to talk to one of the guys that built the boxcar back in the day, and that was one of the coolest experiences I've had working here. So it's pretty cool that all of our logos really have some tie to that. I mean, even the H right here, the wing on it is from the Fairchild logo.
The H on my hat. I'm wearing a hat for the. Again, I keep forgetting. Some people aren't going to pay attention or want to watch us. They're going to just listen to this, which is fine. On my hat, I have 2 wrenches and a wings and a baseball, and it all forms an H, which took me a little while to realize that it formed an H, but it forms an H. 1,200 of these planes were built. You know, I ran into somebody last night at an event that I did, or that I was at, and a woman saw I had one of my lapel pins on my chest, and she came up, she goes, is that the new Hagerstown team? She goes, yeah. She goes, can I ask you a question? I'm like, yeah. She said, where did you come up with that name? So I told her, I think I said something like, oh, I thought of it in a dream, She goes, really? I go, no, not really. I said, really? We did this whole naming contest, and it came up, and it's actually a plane that was built here in Hagerstown right at the end of World War II, was used through the Korean War. 1,200 of them were built. It played a huge part in the military at that point, and it really was huge. So at the same time, I explained this to her. I said, you can go see one of these planes fully intact at the Aviation Museum here in Hagerstown. And again, another episode down the road, we're going to talk with the folks from the Aviation Museum. We're going to talk with the relationship of the team and the Aviation Museum and Fairchild and the history of the boxcar. We're going to talk about all that. So we won't go into too much more depth here, but yeah, we did not personally come up with that name. The public came up with that name. So thank you very much. It's a great name. You get a round of applause. Yes. It's going to be there we go. Thank you. There you go. Thank you, Hagerstown. That was a great job. Appreciate it. So it's a wonderful name. It really is. So, okay, you get the next question.
All right, so we already kind of covered who we're affiliated with.
Yeah, the affiliation thing. Hopefully we can explain that more down the road. Again, we are not affiliated with any one team. We are a Major League Baseball partner league, which means that any team in the major leagues can sign one of our players if they would like to. It's as easy as that. That's it. We're a partner. We're affiliated with all 30 Major League Baseball teams. That's the easy answer.
Yeah. So a question that we actually get a lot of times is people ask us why we decided to have our stadium built downtown. And that's something that we love to actually tell people about, because having our stadium downtown is actually kind of a centerpiece for our entire project here. It's something we're very proud of, and it's something that we believe is going to be something that's going to be great for the community.
I think everybody says things like, "Why was it put there? Why wasn't the old stadium rebuilt, or why didn't they put it across the street from the old stadium because there's an empty piece of property there?" Because of who is actually financing this and backing this and paying for this, and it is pretty much a private venture, so to say. They felt that it would be best to put it right there. There were several different areas of town that they had looked at, and I know people talk about it all the time. The old stadium site out by Route 70, or is it Route 70? I forget. Route, whatever it is, or down that downtown. And the Maryland Stadium Authority came to the determination that putting a stadium where they're putting it right now will generate more revitalization efforts in downtown Hagerstown. Yeah. And people are still apprehensive about that, and we understand that. We totally understand that. It's something that's been tried at other sites around the country. It's been successful. There's one or two places throughout the country where people will bring up that it wasn't successful, but trust me, if you look into it a little bit more in depth, you will see that those one or two places had a lot more issues. We have modeled this design and this after successful places around the country, whether it be from Akron, Ohio, whether it be in Lancaster or York. We have the perfect spot for this thing. Maryland Stadium Authority felt so. It was there. It has fit into the landscape down there properly. A lot of people are concerned about the noise. They're concerned about the parking. They're concerned for those poor people on the hill across the street and for the folks in Potomac Towers. And let me tell you, I've spoken to people on the hill. I've spoken to people in Potomac Towers. And they are thrilled. They are excited. I spoke to a woman once we have a kiosk out at the mall selling merchandise, and I was out there one night. And this lady walked up to me, and she was very quiet. She said, "Can I ask you a question?" She said, and it was about merchandise. And we started talking about merchandise. She goes, "I'm pretty excited about the team." I go, "Oh, that's great. I'm glad you're excited." She goes, I live right on the corner of Baltimore and Summit." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "I could live on the corner of Baltimore Summit, and ma'am, if you're listening to this, trust me, I think you brought me to almost to tears that night." She told me about how she was excited for her and her family. That she understands that there might be a parking problem every once in a while. But she's willing to work around with that. I told her our games were going to get over sooner, that the fireworks will go off, and 9:15, 9:30, we're out of there. On a Friday night, Saturday night, you can go to bed. And, she wasn't concerned about that, but she was happy to hear that. Told her we were going to be the best neighbors that we can possibly be. And she was super thrilled. And she told me about how when she was growing up, she lived in the shadows of RFK Stadium. And what a thrill it was to live near a thriving place like that. So, and I've talked to people in the Potomac Towers, and I don't know if anybody out there has seen some of the views that they're going to get from Potomac Towers. There's been some folks in Potomac Towers who have posted pictures from their rooms, their windows, and looking right down onto our field. So, they're excited too. I've talked to them out there at the mall as well. They're excited. They know it's going to be a change. But I guess my point is if that they can accept change and it really directly affects them, then why? Let's all get behind this, or let's all give it an open mind. Just give it a try. Our job is to make you and get you to our stadium, and if you have that mindset, change your mind, because I think we're going to do that.
Oh yeah.
You're going to see what a blessing this is going to be for the city. We're already seeing it. You see the parking garage, how quickly it's going up. You see the buildings around the stadium site that's being renovated, the businesses that are excited to have this downtown, and again, the fans, corporate sponsors, everybody's excited about this. So we understand the apprehension, really do. But I'm telling you, you give it a try, you're gonna love this thing. And we see it. We do. We see all the negativity out there, folks. We see it. And we're going to do our best to make it work and make this the pinnacle of Hagerstown. When I was a kid, and I tell this story a lot. When I was a kid, and my mom and dad said, "Hey, we're going to Hagerstown," man, I would grab my coat and yank on my brother to get him moving, and we'd jump in the car, be ready to go to Hagerstown.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since people can say that. Frederick came along, and other places came along, and it's time to get back to the way it was. And I understand for the older folks out there like myself, it's never going to be like those olden days downtown, but it's going to be nice. It's going to be really nice, and you can see the transformation that's happening downtown, and we're happy to be a part of it, a huge part of it. And again, another episode that we can talk about this. I get goosebumps just thinking about it, because it's like this has been talked about for a long time. And it wasn't until the Maryland Stadium Authority stepped up. The Maryland Stadium Authority, which is funded by lottery funds here in the state of Maryland, step up and say, okay, bam, here's the money. Governor Hogan, bam, here's the help you need. And some great business owners, guys who are philanthropists, guys who love this city. And I don't want to be folks know who they are. Don Bowman, Blackie Bowen. We have Frank Bolton, and I should have brought his bobblehead here today. And we have Jim Holtzapfel.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can never say his name right. Holtzapfel. Jim's a great guy. The reason I'm careful to even say his name, he's such a quiet guy. He's just like, oh, I'm just back here. I'm just back here. But he really is. They're all great people. Most important, they're philanthropists. And a lot of people like to say, well, they're going to get richer. Trust me, you don't get rich owning a minor league baseball team. There ain't many really people out there that got rich owning a minor league baseball team. But what they see in this is an opportunity to give back to the city. They are philanthropists. They want to give back. And this thing's going to be open for 63 baseball games a year, concerts, football games. We can have football games, lacrosse, soccer, concerts. I'm so excited about some concerts. I'm a music guy. Who do you want to see? Is there anybody you want to see in the stadium?
I have a long list. I don't know if they're going to want to.
And you can afford it. We can afford it. This stadium's gonna seat. Actually, how many people is the stadium going to seat?
I think it's around between 4,000 and 5,000, around that number.
Yeah. So we're not going to be able to get Taylor Swift in here for all you Swifties out there, Finn. No Taylor Swift for you, but we might be maybe a Joan Jett. Hey, for guys like me and Jay, Jay looks like a Joan Jett guy, but who knows? But we're going to have all kinds of events all year long. This is a 12-month-a-year stadium. We call it a ballpark, but we call it a stadium. It's an event center, and basically that's what it is. We're going to have events in there. So again, what else we got here? We're running out of time for this one because again we've rambled on a bunch. In the future, we're going to bring on some players. We're going to keep the public informed about what's going on with the stadium build and the team in general, and we want to correct that misinformation. So keep listening. We'll have this posted. Finn, what do we do with this podcast now? We're going to post it on our sites.
Yeah, it'll be available on our sites. It'll be up on YouTube. Basically, anywhere that you can hear it or watch it, we'll have it up there. So.
And you don't have to watch it. You can just turn it on and then black screen it. You don't have to see me. I'm working on it, folks. I'm going to be in shape by the time the stadium is open and we're ready to play baseball. Until then, again, we thank you. And feel free to call me Johnny Castle or Tom Bertman. That is the name that's on my paycheck. So, but you can call me Johnny Castle. Jay, you can call me Johnny. Anybody who wants to call me Johnny, feel free to do so. That's my stage name. There it is. Okay. So, again, this is Johnny Castle.
I'm Finn McDonald.
This has been the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars Flying Boxcast. Very first episode. Thank you to Venue Media and Jay Heiss. See you soon. Or listen.